We are live. This is a meeting and welcome to the Board of Adjustment meeting of Monday, August 10, 2020. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chairman Paterson, would you like me to open the meeting, sir?
Yes.
Good evening.
Please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairman. And Commissioners, welcome and good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Paterson Board of Adjustment meeting of August 10, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. The notice requirement of the Open Public Meeting Law has been satisfied with respect to this meeting, specifying the time, date, and location included in the annual notice adopted at the reorganization meeting of the board, filed with the clerk of the city of Paterson, posted in City Hall, and mailed to at least 2 newspapers in accordance with the provisions of the law. Chairman Paterson, may I call the roll, please? Chairman Paterson, may I call the roll?
Roll, please.
Commissioners, Commissioner Dumas, are you present?
Present.
Commissioner Furman?
Present.
Commissioner Hodges?
Present.
Commissioner Levine?
Here.
Commissioner Minauro? Commissioner Rohim?
Present.
Commissioner Watkins?
Present.
And Chairman Paxton.
Present.
Can I read the agenda into the record? Thank you, Chairman.
Yes.
Notice pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act addressing effective coronavirus measures on the next public meeting, consistent with the coronavirus-related restrictions of the Executive Order Number 107, given on Saturday, March 21st, 2020 by Governor Philip D. Murphy. The Board of Adjustment of the City of Paterson will not conduct in-person participation of the public at all future meetings until further notice. However, public participation will be available by means of communication equipment pursuant to NJSA 10-4-8, commencing on Wednesday, April 23rd, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. Though there may potentially be a practical need for a limited number of administrative, technical, or other city personnel to be present in or near the council chambers, 3rd floor, City Hall, 155 Market Street, Paterson, New Jersey, in-person participation of the public is prohibited. Nevertheless, for reasons of compliance with the said Executive Order Number 107, public participation will be available by calling 1973-321-1579. The number again is 1973-321-1579. Meeting number ID 711-680-007-0071. That's 711-680-0071. Board of Adjustment special meeting on Monday, August 10th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. On the date and time.
ID, that's pound 711. The ID number is pound.
Oh, I thought it was ID number.
ID number pound 711, I think it is.
All right, let me check that out and I'll get back to you. On the date and time that the meeting is scheduled to commence, the public may also participate in the meeting by accessing the website of the City of Paterson, www.patersonnj.gov, and following the email link for the meeting, www.patersonnj.gov/Board of Adjustment. One moment, please. Excuse me, I was correct. There is not a pound. That means meeting ID number 711-680-0071, calling 1973-321-1579. This has been confirmed by our IT staff. On Monday, August 10th, 2020, there will be a special meeting of the Paterson Board of Adjustment, which will be held at 7:30 p.m. via webinar session. The following matter will be heard. Market Street Super Subs Laundromat LLC carried from July 27, 2020 meeting. 658-664 Market Street, Block 9006, Lot 3. This is an application to convert a commercial space into two separate spaces, a 6,141 square foot and 2,412 square foot, and add a second level addition for 3 two-bedroom apartments. The applicant proposes to open a 6,141 square foot laundromat in one of the retail spaces. The applicant is proposing 58 washing machines, that's 58, and 44 dryers. The retail spaces was formerly a car dealership and has been occupied as a laundromat. The applicant is providing 19 parking spaces of the 47 parking spaces that are required. This is for use both site plan, Passaic County Planning Board review in a B3 zone. Is the applicant present? Mr. Maracanta?
Yes, applicant is present.
Applicant is present on behalf of the applicant, Alan Mariconda, 726 Market Street, Paterson, on behalf of Market Street Super Sub Laundromat LLC. We have with us this evening for tonight's hearing our architectural, engineering, planning testimony, as well as the applicant. So we'd like to begin with the architectural testimony, but just by brief opening, to follow up the calling of the agenda, I just wanted to indicate to the board, this application, we believe, is a very positive step in terms of a business conversion on this site. As many of the commissioners know, this area of Market Street has had many car dealerships over the years, and there's been a lessening of that use. So this is an opportunity to replace that auto sales entity with a very viable, very important service to the community, that being a state-of-the-art laundromat. And as the board members may know, this is an application filed. The LLC is owned by Mr. Edwin Coe, who has established through planning board and zoning board approval in the past other laundromats in the city of Paterson. This is his primary focus in business, and he's very anxious to try to establish this one in an area which has a certain need for that use. He will also testify to the proposed second retail use, if there's any determination yet at this point, or what type of second use he would hope to bring into the site. Again, that's the essence of the application. I'd like to call Mr. Osvaldo Martinez, our architect, first, bearing in mind that there will be engineering and planning testimony. Osvaldo?
Yes, present.
Chairman Paxton, would you like to call in the credentials, please?
Well, hold on, can I swear him in? Can you please raise your right hand? I don't see you, Mr. Osvaldo. Okay. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your full name for the record.
Osvaldo Martinez, Martinez.
And what's the name of your entity, your business entity, Osvaldo?
OMLK Architects.
And would you give the board the benefit of your professional background and license?
Yes, I'm a New Jersey and New York licensed architect for 20 years. I have testified through to a number of municipalities throughout the state of New Jersey, including the city of Paterson in the past, and I've been qualified as a professional. As an
We accept your credentials.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Martinez, would you give us the benefit of your architectural rendering of the site? I know there were some modifications which have been submitted and reviewed by the board planner. So you can proceed with your description of your rendering.
Yes.
That's the way you need to post it if you haven't already.
If I can share the screen, does the secretary have to give me permission to do that?
Yes, no, you can do that. I would do that for the commissioners and the public. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Martinez, also give us the date of the application and your latest revision, if any, just to make sure everyone has the same plan.
As soon as I figure out how to share this drawing, do Do you guys see the drawing in front of you now, or?
No. Not yet.
No.
Okay, we're just trying to figure out how to share that.
You know, Ozzy, if you open up the PDF on your screen,
I did.
go and hit the share.
No.
Okay, so on the top toolbar, you're gonna see something that says share. Do you see that?
No.
Scenario?
Yes.
And
Oh, okay. Yes. Yes.
share.
Yes. Got it.
There you go, like magic.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It's a little bit different system than we're used to. Okay, do you have that in front of you now? Do you?
So you
Now, there should be options for sharing, and
Is the screen? We have it. It says you're sharing the window. Do you see the drawing on there?
No.
we see the participants of the meeting.
so you just have to share
Sharing screen. It said I'm sharing my meeting window. Let's click on that.
Yeah.
It's open like that.
Yeah. Sure.
You have multiple windows, multiple monitors.
No.
See if I can.
Mr. Sturge is gonna see if he has the ability to close your plane.
It says I'm sharing the window. It says I'm sharing the meeting window. I'm not sure. Let's stop it.
We see that also, but then we also see the Zoom participants. Also, it's like the Zoom window, the participants is above the screen. I don't know if there's a way to minimize.
Hey, Alan, it's not, if you want, I can throw it up on the screen.
Hold on. Let's.
Maximize that.
Can you see it now?
No.
No, but I think you can maximize this here if we might see it.
How about now? No?
Hello?
Mr. McDonough may be able to take care of it, is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
May I ask a question, please?
Our plan is gonna try to close it.
There we
There
go.
you go.
Alright, thank you.
We got the screen, folks. Just make sure we have the right date.
There we go.
Is this it?
I don't think they see the whole thing.
What are you guys seeing now?
11/12/19.
Oh.
That's the old one, right? Didn't have a revision date on there?
25/20.
I don't have one. Wakanda, Gary Papelosi. I only have the 11/12/2019. No, there's a revision date of 25/20.
No,
Is that the latest one?
No.
No.
No, the latest one is 7/9. July 9th.
July 9th, Mr. Paparazzi, if I can call you, please, I don't wanna.
Okay.
It's there. I'll call Mr. Paparazzi, please wait.
Ozzy, can you email it to me?
After speak to my board planner, and I will get back to you. Is that okay, Chairman Paterson, through the chair?
Ozzy, can you email us to Tom?
We can. Who wants an email, Tom?
Tom Sturge, yeah.
Yeah, we're sending that to you.
Okay.
I'm not sure why we're not able to share this. We do this, every week. And don't know what is happening.
We'll try to get it done.
We'll try it again.
That's your time.
I can do this.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this out.
I need to go over this because I have a question. I received this on May 5th. Me and Mr. Alamaricano spoke about this earlier. The date on the plan is February 25th, 20. Those are per the board planner's comments, am I correct?
There are
The
later,
second,
Yes.
go ahead, Alan.
there are later plans.
Also, the only ones I have are 22520.
Okay, one moment, because I do have something to say. One moment, please. Thank you.
Share multi-week, that's only letting us share the meeting with. Don't we?
No, you touch that.
Yeah.
Tom, is that you sharing it now?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Let's check do.
Yeah, go to the title block, there we go. Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna in the rendering as well.
Okay, we're gonna email you the rendering, so if you would do the same, I would appreciate it, thank you.
Sure. Okay.
These were clearly, hand delivered and processed. As a matter of fact, I think they were even emailed to Gary.
Oh, is that the basic graphic? Oh, no, that's not. Okay.
There you go. Tom, we just sent you the rendering too.
Okay, great. Yeah, I got it.
For now,
Yes, that's it, Tom.
Okay. So we'll start with this.
Excuse me, I'd like to give a few moments, Chairman Thaxton, for Gary Paparazzi to look for the plan. If for any reason whatsoever, maybe it's misplaced, I take full responsibility. Would like to ask you, can you put these plans that you are going to discuss, take your time, let Gary look through them, because we need to proceed.
Yes.
So give me a few minutes if that's okay with everyone, so Gary can get on board.
What plans do we have, Maggie?
We need the plans from A1 to A2 and A3 that were revised.
These are the architectural renderings, Mr. Chairman.
So, Mr. Martinez, are they just 3 pages again?
They're just 3 pages, let me speak to my planner, please. A1, A2, A3. The first revision was February 25th and the second was July 9th.
Okay.
He's going to put them on the board as he is doing right now. I would like you to take your time and let Gary review these as well.
Absolutely.
If for any reason Mr. Paparazzi needs any assistance, I will ask everyone to please guide him and give him the information that's required. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But Mr. Martinez, when you get to your last revision, whatever you did in July 9th, then just point that out to me and I'll follow as you go along.
They're clouded, Mr. Paparazzi. They're clouded.
Okay, all right.
The dumpster area
Okay,
on A1.
I got that, okay.
Okay. A2. Okay, A2, we clearly darkened in the parapet wall that was in question.
Okay, you enabled it, that's good.
Yes. So that you see why that wall is, well, we'll get into it in testimony.
Right, that 25th Street view, right.
Yes. And then A3, again, just some clarifications, clouding in the wall over on elevation, 25th elevation, street elevation, just showing the extent of the second floor, and that from there on, it's just a parapet wall, and that's basically it.
Hey, proceed, we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Martinez, you can give us the benefit of your testimony regarding the current rendering and the current site architectural plan.
Yes. So before you now, you have the finished rendering of what we propose the site to look like once completed. Again, I'm sure that we are all familiar with the site. It's on the corner of East 25th and Market Street. It is currently a vacant building, and the building covers approximately 88% of the property. When we started to develop the property, it was critical that we accommodate some parking space, so we do propose to demolish. As we look there, we're right on the corner. So on the 25th Street side, we do propose to demolish a substantial piece of the building. There is some parking there. Of course, that's not legal parking, so we do propose to demolish a good piece of the building in the rear and on the side there to accommodate our 18 parking spaces. We did previously propose 19 parking spaces, but it was a little difficult to get to our recycling area, so we had to eliminate one space so that the maneuvering for recycling and garbage pickup would be a little bit easier, the access to that corral area in the back.
Okay.
Tom, if you would please take us to A1. So again, the floor plan on the left-hand side, we're accommodating, I believe there's an existing driveway there. We are accommodating 18 parking spaces. At the rear right-hand corner is the garbage for both the laundromat and the second floor apartments, garbage and recycling, and appropriate maneuvering areas for it to get collected or brought to curb on collection days. The rest of the building will be completely renovated, demoed and renovated. And it would be largely for the laundromat use. There is one piece that we did not need for the laundromat, and we propose a retail space on the Market Street side, as I'm indicating there. Again, it'll be 58 washing machines, 44 stacked dryers, entrance right on the corner, which is what currently exists now. We wanted to keep some of that, the existing entry feeling, just like it's been there for years on the corner of Market and 25th. And then the vanilla box on the right-hand side would have its entrance from the Market Street side. We propose to have the proper handicap accessible space with an entrance from the parking lot into the laundromat as well. For the second floor apartments, before we just come back to A1 again, Tom, thank you. On the Market Street side, on the right-hand side, is the entrance to the second floor, which are the apartments, and we also have another entrance to the apartments on the second floor from the parking lot side. So there's two means of access to the second floor apartments. So sheet A2, please. This is the second floor. The second floor does not cover the entire area of the first floor. We do have a roof area for all our dryer exhaust and HVAC equipment. However, we do mask that, and you see it on the rendering from the 25th Street side. You will not see any equipment. So that's that portion there. Those are just louvers. It looks like part of the building, so you would not see any of the laundromat venting or any of the HVAC equipment on the roof. We're proposing two-bedroom apartments, again, with the entrance from Market Street and both the parking lot.
Three apartments, right? Three, that's two.
I'm sorry, 3 two-bedroom apartments, yes. Sorry for that. We can go over the layout if anyone has any questions, or in the interest of time, if you do not have any questions, they're very nice, actually, very nice size apartments.
Ozzy, can you tell us that do they meet square footage requirements, the basic standards?
Oh, absolutely. They go above and beyond that. We have eating kitchens with counters, nice sized bedrooms. In my opinion, they far exceed the minimum requirements, yes.
Okay. Anything else in terms of your architectural, plan?
No, plenty of windows, very light, very airy apartments. The elevations, if we start from the bottom, that's the Market Street elevation. We tried to mix some materials. There'll be a mix of brick, stucco, aluminum and glass. Again, some decorative cornices. You could see the entrance on the Market Street elevation, the entrance to the apartment on the right-hand side. Then you have the entrance to the vanilla box or the retail space. And then the laundromat, of course, is the showpiece and the corner piece with the corner entrance. And you can see the laundromat from both Market Street elevation and the 25th Street elevation. Again, we clouded in the area there that shows the extent of the second floor. But from 25th Street, you don't know that the second floor is only partial. And those other two windows are just louvers to mimic what would be windows if the second floor was the entire, went over the entire first floor. And then finally, the rear, again, to the left of the parking lot elevation, you see the entrance from the parking lot to the apartments, and then another entrance for convenience from the parking lot into the laundromat. Again, a combination of materials, some brick, some stucco, some decorative stucco, cornices, etc. All signage is to comply to the City of Paterson sign ordinance. And that's about it. And then we have a rendering which shows you the color selection that we have made and some of the finishes.
Okay, very well. That would conclude Mr. Martinez's testimony at this time, Mr. Chairman. Of course, he's available.
Gary. Thank you, Chairman. Gary. Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Martinez, first of all, I'm glad that the July revision was made because I wanted to see that on, was looking at the 25th Street elevation. You would not know that unless you said that. And that was what I said the first time when you said it was a dummy wall, we called it, or just a parapet. Now,
I take that as a compliment because that was the intent, for it not to, we wanted the building to be squared off on the 25th Street side and no one to know that there's any equipment back there.
okay, usually, though, Mr. Martinez, the air conditioning units or stuff that goes on the roof, usually they put a 3 or 4 foot wall. Your wall is about 14 feet. So
only on the 25th Street side. On the parking lot side is 42 inches.
okay, why is it not 4 feet and it is 14? Why is it 14 and not 4? That's my question. Since
Well, no, why is it 14 feet? Just to continue the building, the look of the building. It's for aesthetic purposes.
okay, so how is the dummy wall made? Do we need any structural? Because if it's just like 2x10s and siding, I mean, don't you have to provide something to?
No, this building will be 100% conforming to the International Building Code, and I can assure you it will be structurally sound. We have done this before. We've done it there in the City of Paterson, actually, in one of his other locations. We've done this many times. I assure you it will be 100% compliant and to code and structurally sound.
Engineering might want to see, how it's put up. I mean, this last storm we had that took down trees. If it's just a dummy wall, I have some concerns. So I want not me, but engineering certainly would want to see some support, how it's supported or some support. A dummy wall usually doesn't go 14 feet. In most of my cases, I don't remember being 14 or 14 and a half. So they might require that, and if they do, I surmise if you can't do it, then a structural engineer will do it. Somebody will have to do it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That certainly would be part, if the board deemed the application worthy of approval, we would certainly, if necessary, retain a structural engineer to satisfy the municipal engineer as well as the building department that Mr. Martinez's testimony is accurate. Hopefully, at that point.
You understand what I'm getting at, Mr. Maricondo?
Yeah.
The wall is 4 feet. When you're going up 14 and a half feet, it's, I think the width is, I don't know, 10 inches or something to that effect. Trees that were 2 feet wide came down. I just don't want to see an issue, and that was only last week. So,
We'll make sure that that's part and parcel to the, structural soundness and integrity that's required.
okay. Okay, Mr. Chairman, other than signing you off on the revision, I have no more questions for Ms. Martinez.
Thank you.
Any commissioners have questions for the architect?
Watkins, Commissioner Watkins, how you doing?
Hi.
Pretty good.
You mentioned international code. Could you explain the international code versus Paterson code? Could you explain that, please?
Oh, it's the International Building Code. It's what the state of New Jersey has to adhere to when we submit construction documents and when this building gets built. It's what the city of Paterson has to. It's the jurisdiction, the state jurisdiction.
In other words, it's universal for this type of building.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. You're welcome.
Any other commissioner?
Commissioner Monaro? Good evening. Thank you. I have a question. You said that the 14-foot wall is going to be on the 25th Street side, but the back part of it, when you're coming down 25th Street, it's only 48 inches in that parking lot, or 42 inches, you said?
Yes, the 14-foot wall wraps around. Part of it is aesthetic and part of it is for structural purposes.
Right.
And then it goes down to 42 inches.
So when you're coming down 25th Street, someone that resides on 25th Street and comes down 25th Street will be able to see whatever the exhausts are and everything from there? No?
They will not see the exhaust. They will see the apartment windows in the back.
Okay.
But they will not see the exhaust. The exhaust and the HVAC equipment does not go above 42 inches.
Okay, thank you.
Above the laundromat roof. You're welcome.
Any other commissioners? Mr. LaRocca, can you open it up to the public, please?
Yes. The members of the public, if you have questions of this witness, not statements or commentary, you will have that opportunity at the very end. But if you have questions with regard to the testimony you just heard, please call 973-321-1579. When prompted to, enter the meeting ID number of 711-680-0071, and you'll have the opportunity to ask those questions. Again, the phone number is 973-321-1579, and the meeting code is 711-680-0071. Let's give it a few moments to see if anybody calls.
Mr. Morocco, we do have a caller. In the meantime, they're connecting him right now. His name is Tarek RM, I think it is, J-R-E-M.
And we'll get his full name. We'll get his full name and address. The court reporter will ask him.
So they're going to connect him as we're speaking until the other callers call in. Thank you. Mr. LaRocca and Chairman Thaxton, apparently the caller is not responding, so if you'd like to continue or give it another moment, this is, your decision. Thank you.
We'll continue. If he calls in, place him on hold. We'll bring him back if he has questions of this witness. We'll go from there.
Yes, thank you. And also make sure that you mention, even though they do this here, that they don't have any comments till the end, which is something they do try to do here as well, just to let you know. Thank
Please continue.
Mr. Maricondo.
Yes, thank you, sir. We'll call Mr. Tom Stearns of the GB Associates as our site plan witness. Good evening.
Please raise your right hand. You swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Say your full name for the record, please.
Thomas G. Stearns III, STEARNS, 144 Jewel Street, Garfield, New Jersey. GBH Brain LLC.
Mr. Stearns, you appeared before this board, I understand, just a quick summary of your professional background.
Yes, I have. So I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I'm a licensed land surveyor in the state. I've been practicing engineering and surveying in the state for 20 years, and I've been accepted before this board many times as an expert in engineering.
You've got your credentials.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, again. Mr. Stearns, obviously you've had an opportunity to prepare the original site plan and also the modification of that site plan, which are before the board this evening, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
And you've also had an opportunity not only to hear Mr. Martinez's testimony, but to work hand in hand with him with the revisions you worked on.
That is correct, yes. I'm going to share my screen first. You don't mind?
Yep.
Do the chair?
Put our screen up now.
Mr. excuse me, Mr. LaRocca, the caller is on. Would you like to wait or address him at this moment?
We have no problem doing it now.
His name is Mr. Tarek Ghaffem. Are you there, Garam?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, my attorney will be speaking to you from this point on. His name is Mr. LaRocca.
Good evening, sir. Do you have questions of the witness who just testified?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any questions of the witness who just testified?
And I couldn't hear him, sir. I just called in right now.
You mean you couldn't hear him? You just called in right now. Did you hear his testimony?
No, sir.
Okay, so you don't have any questions of his testimony?
No. I didn't hear his testimony. How can I have a question if I didn't hear his testimony, sir?
I don't understand why you're calling in then. Why are you calling in?
Well, I'm calling in because I'm calling in about that the decision's going to be on Market Street and 25th Street right there.
So at the very end, you'll have a chance to give any comment you want. Feel free to watch and listen to the other testimony. If you have questions of their testimony, you can call back in at your conclusion.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll proceed with Mr. Stearns then.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening. So, the property in question is, 658, 664 Market Street. This is on the corner of Market Street and East 25th Street. So the property is on the south side of Market Street and it's on the west side of East 25th Street. This is lot 3, lot 9006. The property consists of 15,656 square feet or 0.36 acres. Just to go through the property dimensions, it's an odd-shaped property. It's trapezoidal. So the frontage on Market Street is 123.18 feet. Along East 25th, we have, a distance of, my other sheet. 120.60 feet. And along the back line, the property is basically 100 foot wide. So as we can see, this property is mostly building. The current building coverage on this is 13,320 square feet. So as our architect said, we are reducing the building to facilitate the parking lot in the rear. Currently the site consists of just building and a small macadam parking lot. As we saw, it was stacked with a fence. So the proposal is to remove a good portion of this building and provide a larger parking lot. So the proposed footprint will be 9,100 square feet. That gives about we're removing 4,200 square feet of building. The second floor footprint is approximately 5,625 square feet. As Mr. Martinez said, the second floor is only on the Market Street side. It doesn't extend to the whole first floor footprint. So the proposal is to renovate the building, as we saw on the display. So currently the site is 100% pervious. We are adding some green in the parking lot. So basically we have our 18 spaces, our refuse area, and our handicap space. And then the balance we were able to put 3 planters in just for some greenery. We are going to have a 6-foot high chain link fence as a gate to the parking lot. That'll be a sliding gate for security. And then we do show, as part of this application, some streetscape improvements. So we are going to improve the curb and sidewalk along at East 25th, and we show some proposed planters, and those planters, they'll be approved by the city. But we just wanted to add some green streetscape to the site for improvement. As we said, we have 18 parking spaces. They're all 9 by 18. We have a 24-foot driveway aisle for two-way drive access onto the site. And we have separate recycle and refuse areas in the back. So, as required, we have an individual area for each, refuse and recycling, which separate the two. We have a handicap ramp. It's opposite our handicap space. The striped area of our handicap space leads to a handicap ramp. As Mr. Martinez mentioned, that accesses the laundromat. And then we have the rear and front entrances to the second floor. So as far as drainage goes, there is no drainage facility on the site. Everything runs off into the streets, surface flows. So we are adding a slight amount, we are reducing the impervious by a very slight amount. And we are going to propose a catch basin in the rear of the property, and we're going to pipe that to the storm sewer. So this way it takes the service front off the streets and off the sidewalks and the parking lot. I'll just go through some zoning. So our site is in the B3 General Business Zone. I have the zone chart over here on the right of the plan. So we analyzed that. There's only one variance as far as the B3 goes, and that's the 18 spaces. So 48 spaces are required. I have a parking chart showing the required amount of parking here.
That would include residential and commercial.
That's correct, yes. And so we're providing 18, which we actually reduced the size of the building to provide this 18, so it was quite an endeavor to do that.
And Mr. McDonough will cover that issue with regard to parking as well.
Yes, he will, yes. And then so also, since we have the residential component, Mr. Paparazzi asked us to analyze the site in the R3. So on the left side, we have the R3 zoning. So as far as R3 goes, we have variances for front setback on Market, front setback on East 25th. We have side setback. Those are all zeros. Those are all on the line, but that's the pre-existing condition of the current building. Then we also have building coverage. We comply with building coverage in the B3 zone, but in the R3 we are over. So 40% required. We're at 58.1. And again, as I said before, we have 85.1. That's the existing building. We're reducing that to 58.1. So that's the variance in the R3. Parking spaces, again, 18, that's a variance. And then there's a requirement for 3 foot to the property line. Parking is supposed to be 3 feet from the property line. Since we maxed out our parking lot, we designed it as a conforming parking lot with 18, 24, and 18. We are on the property line at that location, so we're asking for a variance for that. And then the floor area ratio, we comply with that one. I don't have anything else.
Okay, and that will conclude, Mr. Stern's testimony. Again, bearing in mind there will be, planning testimony after the applicant who will be testifying next, after the board concludes any questions with Mr. Stearns. But again, he would be, of course, ready for any, site plan questions at this time.
Just one more clarification.
Sure.
So I've been testifying based on my plan dated, corner. So my plan is dated November 12th, 2019, and we're on the third, revision number 3, which is 6/30/20. Just so everyone knows.
Okay. That would conclude Mr. Stearns at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Tom, okay, good. I know we addressed all the variances, but the mixed zone requires that you, requires you to address both variances for both use. It was my request, it's the Paterson code for mixed zone. So,
Sure.
Understood.
right. So the reason why you have those variances in the R2 is because you have to satisfy both requirements. And the B3, there are two variances. Parking 3 feet to the property line would also be included in the
Right, that's correct. Yeah, that chart.
I know that on East 25th Street, you're proposing a sliding gate. There is a 6-foot fence there, and right now, that fence hopefully is going to be replaced?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. In any case, Mr. Maricano, this is more for you, I guess, or the networks. There is razor wire on that fence, and whether the application gets approved or not, the razor wire is prohibited in Paterson. So the razor wire would have to come down in any event.
Absolutely, we agree. That's unfortunately, that's a residue of the prior use, and Mr. Poe's aware that he has to remove that right away.
Right, okay, and Tom, on your grading and drainage plan, right over here on where I have my arrow, I don't know if you see that. You still have a note. Okay, well, you still have a note that the garbage is going to be stored inside the building.
Oh, okay, all right, so.
And I have to come off. You see it over there?
Yes,
It's in the
right here.
square. Right, that's it.
Yes, okay,
Removed it off the top of the site plan, but you left it on the bottom.
okay.
Okay, I guess, Mr. Marcanza, I could address the laundromat and the commercial use with the owner, right?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so yes, Chairman and Commissioners, there are 7 total variances, and Tom has them listed on the chart in front of you. If there's any questions on that, I know we have a planner. I assume we'll go over them with his testimony, but if there's any questions, I will answer them for you. And that's all I have for Mr. Stearns, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any commissioners?
No commissioners have questions? Okay, open it to the public, Chairman?
Yes.
Members of the public, if you have any questions of this witness, now's not the time for comments or a statement, but direct questions of the testimony you heard. Please call 973-321-1579 and enter meeting ID number 711-680-0071. Once again, the phone number is 973-321-1579. And when prompted to, enter the meeting ID number 711-680-0071. Thank you. Let's give it a few moments.
the gentleman that we spoke about earlier will reconnect at the end of the meeting. His phone has died and expired. I just wanted to make sure that, Alan Maricondo, is Mr. Poe on the main?
Yes, he is.
Thank you, okay.
He is.
Yes, I am. Present.
Shall we proceed, Mr. Chairman?
Give it a moment to see if anybody.
I'm sorry, okay.
The topic.
We have no calls at this time, Mr. LaRock.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you. I will call Mr. Edwin Poe at this time.
Go ahead, Mr. Maricondo.
Present.
Mr. Poe, you just, you're gonna be sworn in.
Yes, sir.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
That is correct, yes.
Say your full name for the record.
Edwin Poe.
Okay, Ed, would you tell us, your position with Market Street, Super Suds Laundromat LLC? You can put your hand down.
I'm sorry, repeat that question?
Sure, what is your position with Market Street Super Suds?
I am the owner of the laundromat.
Owner of the LLC?
Yeah, I'm of the LLC, yes, sir.
Okay, and as such, you're fully familiar with the architectural plans and the site plans that have been testified to, is that right?
Yes, correct.
And you are in full agreement with the modifications and changes that we presented tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, give us a little bit of your background. I indicated in my opening that you have extensive experience in the residential laundromat business. Give the board the benefit of a little bit of that background, if you would.
Well, first of all, I'm a native born Patersonian, raised here, and I have two other laundromats here in the city of Paterson that I currently run an operation there from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. And they're currently on 12th Avenue and 32nd Street, and the other one is on Main Street.
Okay, you've been in operation with those uses for varying number of years on the two sites?
On the corner of Elizabeth Street.
Elizabeth and Main. Okay, how many years have they been functioning, those two uses?
That is correct, I have.
No, how many years have you operated those uses?
One on Main Street, I have 20.
Okay, and 12th Ave?
I'm sorry.
We're losing you, Ed.
Well, Main Street I have for 20 years.
Okay,
And the one over on the 32nd Street, I have that close to 24 years, which I moved to the public street and I upgraded.
I'm sorry, repeat that last sentence?
I'm not sure what else you like me to ask, but we have the state-of-the-art,
Okay, we're losing you
we
a
have
little
the
bit.
state-of-the-art equipment there. We try and give fair prices to everyone there. It's a community.
And just, excuse me for interrupting you, Ed. I'm not sure if the commissioners are hearing you, but we're getting a little breakup on our end. Anyone else,
All right.
hang on there.
You got me?
It is minor, can I handle this? Give me 1 second, please.
Sure.
Yes, I'm for a little bit.
Let's try this again. I did view Mr. Stearns, I see Ralph and Rouse, I think it is. If I muted them, we could try again. Can you try again, Mr. Cole?
He is Ralph.
I'm here, I'm present. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hear me?
Mariconda's muted.
Can the rest of the commissioners and the board hear me?
Yes, I
No.
can hear you.
Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you.
Yes.
And just, without a lot of detail, those two locations, you explained how many years you've operated them. Will these two locations, or our new location, I should say, be similar in terms of the type of facility?
Yes, sir. Yes, they are. They are mixed use, and yes, they are mixed use, and they are operating with the current updated equipment.
And this particular site will represent that state-of-the-art equipment as well, is that correct?
The latest, yes.
Right. Now, obviously, you're very familiar with the usage of a residential laundromat in Paterson. You chose the site because of what factors came into account?
Well, one, I did want a laundromat in this area here. There's one very much needed in that area. The area is in a position that it needs a little facelift on that area there. I've seen some revitalization there. And it's just a main road that it's kind of like too commercial for the city of Paterson there and that area there. I think it's a good thing for the city and for everyone.
Okay, so your anticipation is you would be serving the surrounding residential community off of Market Street?
Absolutely.
And in your experience, how will your customers generally come to the site with their laundry?
Well, there is some walk-ups to the laundromat there, and then they got a parking lot there as well that will draw people from as far as a half a mile away to a mile.
And you find that there is a need for a facility of this size in terms of those similar use around there?
Absolutely, there is none in that area.
Right. And so your experience has been a mix of walk-up, any public transportation, of course, is available on market. Could that occur also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this building, the way it's depicted on Mr. Martinez's plan, and it was described in Mr. Stearns' site plan, will, in your estimation, will meet the needs of the public that you wish to serve?
Absolutely.
Okay. And the residential units would be rental units?
Yes.
Okay.
There'll be 3 luxury rental units upstairs.
Okay. And and perhaps Mr. McDonough may talk about this a little bit, but would you expect that there would be any degree of shared parking between the residential and the commercial, or how do you expect that could work?
That parking will be available for the tenants upstairs. That's one of the reasons why we'll be closing earlier.
Right. So what are your hours anticipated to be?
Saturdays and Sundays we open up at 6 a.m. And Monday through Friday 7 a.m. opening. We'll be closing the same on all 7 days at around 10 p.m.
Okay. And is that pretty typical in the residential laundry business, or is it less or more?
It's pretty much typical.
Okay. And you find that that functions very well in terms of meeting your customer needs those hours?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That would conclude my testimony of Mr. Poe. His questioning Mr. Poe. He's available for any questions the board may have, of course.
But one of the things that we're putting in this laundromat there is we're putting a lot of extra dryers in there so that the people can have the need of getting in and getting out faster.
Okay, so with your ratio of washers to dryers, you think is a particular positive for this site?
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that would conclude direct questions at this time.
Gary. Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Poe, on the site plan, the hours of operation for the laundromat say till 11 p.m. So if it's going to be to 10, Mr. Stearns has to make that revision as well.
We will do so.
Okay. Mr. Poe,
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Mr. Poe, were you gonna say something?
no, well, it can't,
Working,
could be 11.
Maggie, I'm not getting Mr. Poe,
Is that one?
he's coming through broken up.
Ed, did you indicate certain days would be 10 PM or all days?
I'm having trouble hearing, Mr. Poe, Maggie. I think the board is as well.
Yeah, we can't hear him now.
Well, it all depends on the need of our customers in our community, in our area.
No, we have to establish that, tonight in terms of a criteria for hours. You would indicate at 10 PM, was that Monday to Friday?
Excuse me, can I intervene here?
Technically,
Off the line, everyone. Eddie Pope.
I really meant 11.
Connect back in. It is his connection.
Okay, we understand, we're doing our
Hear me
best. Ed, you indicate it should be 11, I apologize.
President, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Just confirm or modify or say your hours again. Ed? Ed?
I don't hear anything, Mr. Maricando. I don't know if you
It
guys.
should be 11 PM. 7, Monday through Friday, 7 AM to 11. 6 AM to 11 PM.
So its closure will be 11 PM on each night, and the only difference is the early start at 6 AM is on Saturday and Sunday? Or just Saturday? Saturday and Sunday, right? So I think Tom's hours are correct on his plan. I apologize for the misstatement there. Ed, is there anything you can do with your IT person to help your sound?
He seems to be muted.
I asked him to, he is not muted. I asked him to disconnect and reconnect.
Okay, Maggie, tell me when I should start again, okay?
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. Apologize to the board for the slight delay, working on it right away here.
Mr. Poe has a bad connection. He is reconnected. Thank you for your patience. He is back on. Mr. Poe? He's under Ralph Ferrero, Mr. Merrick.
Yeah, I understand that's the gentleman who's assisting him.
All right, thank you.
Can you hear me? No. Okay, let me get back on.
Signage. During the course of Mr. Pales' presentation, we received comments and feedback from the board, public, and the board's consultants. We obviously took all of the recommendations into consideration. We next called Mr. Anthony Diamore, a representative of Mr. Diamore provided testimony as the operator of the proposed Dunkin' Donut. Mr. Diamore, as he discussed in his testimony, is the current franchisee and business owner of the existing Dunkin' Donuts in the shopping center on South Avenue. And his proposal is to relocate that business to this site if the application is approved. Mr. Diamore will also describe his other businesses in town as well as.
What is going on there?
Headquarters from California.
Mr. McDonough, is that some sort of crossover meeting you have there? That's my planner, he was covering another matter, he must have accidentally crossed it over. Mr. Poe, are you available?
Please mute your microphones, everyone, please. Unless you are testifying at this moment, mute your microphone. I'm not muting anyone. We're trying to figure out who is talking while they shouldn't be.
Mac, can we just mute everybody and then just let them talk as they're?
Okay, I did this at the last meeting. I've done it before. Then I get feedback from everyone that I meet with them, and it's not, this is business. I didn't do this today. Everybody is doing what they need to do. But I've asked you even at the last meeting, let me figure out where the problem is coming from with the IT staff. I'll put them back on the line. If I fail to reconnect you, it's not something that's personal. I just need to find out where it's coming from. But until now, Mr. Mariconda, you are on. You can have Nicholas Graviano on, whoever you like. But everyone else can mute themselves.
I'm just trying to reach out to Mr. Poe, so his testimony is concluded. However, of course, he will be available for questions.
He can come back on a little later. Right now, we can proceed with your next testimony. I'll make sure he gets on at the end.
Okay, well, we can come back for any questions from Mr. Poe, that's fine.
Alan, I'm still online, it's John McDonough.
Yes, John, we're waiting to see, I think they want to proceed to your testimony, but I just wanted to check. So we can proceed to our next witness then, Madam Secretary? Can we proceed?
Mr. Mariconda, just hold on a second.
Okay.
Any commissioners have questions of the owner?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not finished. I didn't start.
Of the commissioners, do you have questions of the owner?
Alan, I'm back on.
Ed, is that you?
I'm back on.
So, Mr. Poe is on.
Excuse me, before you continue, Mr. Poe, can you verify that you're online?
I am present.
Thank you. Are
And everything's
you? There is a delay with you, so when you speak, just give it a couple seconds. Let someone else get back on. I think there is a delay, and there is an issue with your connection.
Okay, we'll do our best. Mr. Paparazzi, of course, is ready for his questioning.
Okay, we're gonna start and we'll see what happens. Okay, the Poe, we have now said that the laundromat is gonna be closed at 11 p.m. every night.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Since that is the case, are you gonna reserve 6 parking spaces for the tenants? Because I'm assuming that the tenants will be in before 11 in most cases, and you're already short some 30 spaces. Will there at least be reserved spots for the residents?
There will be, there can be, yes.
You would certainly be willing to do so.
Yes, then Mr. Stearns would have to show that on his plan, the reserved parking for the residents, the 6 spaces. Now, Mr. Poe, you have a second business, which is over 2,400 square feet. What is your intentions for that?
We're not sure that. We're planning on moving my office operation from Clifton, that I have another laundromat, to there.
You would expect it would be your general administrative offices?
Yes, that's one option, yes.
Okay, we'd like to make sure that you eliminate certain things such as a liquor store or anything of that nature. Is that fair to say?
A liquor store, even a coffee shop, anything with tables and chairs.
Don't want anything like that.
Right, because that would affect the parking scenario. So.
Great, no food or liquor.
No taverns, no Dunkin' Donuts, no Starbucks, none of that, right, Mr. Poe?
Mr. Poe, you agree? Mr.
No
Poe?
food or liquor, that's right.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so, if you do, reserve the 6 spots, and Mr. Poe, you're gonna be short 42 spots for the 2 businesses, well, let's
We're
just
breaking
say.
up, I can't hear, Mr. Paparazzi.
I explained to you earlier that there is a delay. When you speak, give them a few minutes and listen. That's the issue, not a big deal, okay?
Can everyone else hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Poe, you indicated that, there's a certain need for this, business in that area, and you mentioned up to about a mile away, but I don't understand how patrons are gonna walk a mile with their laundry. And I'm not even talking inclement weather. How do you adjust for the 42 spots short?
Well,
Ed, can you hear?
Mr. Chairman, maybe you might want to go to Mr. McDonough.
I'm not sure I'm understanding that question. The people have the option, the inclement and whether they probably will not go out to go wash. They'll wait for better weather.
That's true.
Or they can drive to the location as well.
That's true. They can only drive for a certain amount of people. Now, you're gonna be short some 42 spaces. So if I drive there and it's sunny and it's raining before my wash is done, that's where the problem lies. See, there is a problem with that business and a big shortage of parking where you have to walk, even a block is, carrying a basket of laundry. That's not the ideal situation, I don't think. But I guess we'll wait to hear Mr. McDonough, and then but I will defer that to the commissioners. Of course, there is 42 spots short, and the area is very limited parking. And that was a concern of mine during my site inspection. So, and it's still a concern of mine.
Yeah, based on Mr. Poe's experience, there is a very substantial walk-up train to the
Providing a
laundromat.
washing full service that people.
And you're still breaking up. Ready to go to Mr. McDonough? Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Any commissioners have questions if not, Mr. Rockins, you want to open it up to the public, please?
I think we're gonna have to come back to that, Chairman, because I think we lost the owner. I think that's
We're
the
having
issue.
problems with his computer.
Okay. So
We're gonna have to bring him.
Can I be heard?
We're gonna have to bring him back. I don't think Gary was done.
Give Mr. Mayor time to call you next witness.
Thank you very much. Mr. John McDonough, please.
You swear affirm testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
State your full name for the record.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is John McDonough, MC, capital DONOUGH.
Mr. McDonough, just briefly, your professional credentials. I know you've appeared here before.
Sure. Licensed professional planner, state of New Jersey, member American Institute of Certified Planners. That's our national certification. And I was just here in front of Paterson, I think it was the planning board last week, but I've been here before.
Mr. Chairman, please. Thank you. Mr. McDonough, you've had an opportunity, I'm sure, to analyze this site in preparation for testimony, as well as hear all the earlier testimony. We apologize for the technical difficulties with Mr. Poe, but I know you got the gist of his testimony for yourself. Would you give us an overview of the site from a planning perspective?
Sure. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, so I think I'm going to pull up, with the chair's permission, just some exhibits that I had prepared to show the dramatic difference between the before and the after in terms of what the applicant is proposing here. So with that, if I may, I'm presently, I think, sharing my screen. Does the board see a map with the subject property outlined in yellow? Yes. Okay, excellent. Okay, so this is going to be a 9-slide exhibit. I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if I need to have this marked as a whatever number we're up to, or just up through them and.
You can see with them, John. We had not marked any prior exhibit yet, so.
Okay, for the record, I'll mark this as A1, which is comprised of 9 parts or 9 slides. But the first one simply shows an outline of the property in question in yellow to give a sense of the surrounding context. Again, as you know and as you heard, with frontage on Market and East 25th Street. It is an oversized parcel. It is a single tax lot, 15,650 square feet, and it is developed with a vacant auto dealership. As you can see, much of the site is covered by building now. We do have a little notch where vehicles are stored. The applicant is proposing a very similar scenario here as well, chopping a portion of the building in the back, adding a top, and again, the same basic configuration that wraps around the corner now is what the board will get, or what the city will get once this application is completed. Third frame takes the physical build out of the area and puts some color to it so you can understand the characteristic of the area. The gold colors are residential. The red colors are non-residential, so we do have a nice corridor of non-residential or industrial uses, commercial type uses along Market Street. But of course, we have the main sensitivity to the residential uses that are nearby as well. This is actually a land use that has a nice synergy with residential uses because, as you heard through our applicant, and as you heard through the other witnesses, this is a service use that serves, basically serves rooftops. It follows roofs in the general area. And what we've noticed here in the city is that this land use tends to serve pods, if you will, or close proximate residential uses in a more neighborhood type scale. And that's what the applicant is looking to do as well, serve the local population. And if one were to hand back and look at the larger ring, I know our applicant talked about serving a 1 mile trade ring here. I'm looking more at about a half a mile. There are approximately within that 2,000 linear foot circle, there's about 10 laundromats, and they're all small scale. But interestingly, in the way they're plotted out in the neighborhood, they're all in that 2,000 foot circle. This is sort of the hole in the donut. This is sort of a gap, if you will. So this becomes an opportunity to serve that population that's immediately around this particular area. And I think fill a void in terms of this particular service use in this particular area. We are in the B3 zone, as you heard through your planner. This also crosses back over to the residential district as well, the R3 district, and we have some bulk relief there as well. Whenever you're dealing with mixed use in the city of Paterson, the residential component is subject to the residential standards, and we'll come back to that as well. I think your planner has given you a good outlay of the relief that the applicant needs, and we'll run through each one of those. Fifth slide is a photo that I took about a month and a half ago, showing the site from the corner of Market Street and East 25th Street. Again, it is a underutilized piece of property. This was midday, and again, we're not looking at a business that is open or serving the public at this particular time. We do have some on-street parking as well, which we'll look at as somewhat of a relief valve for the shortage of on-site parking that the applicant is providing. We'll also look at the general walkable nature of the area as well, and the close-knit population that this is intended to serve. Other key things to point out here is we'll go through some before and after shots, but it will make a dramatic change of this very visually prominent corner. I think it's a very positive investment in the site, in the city, and the neighborhood, and will really bring up and create a nice visual accent at this corner. Also, you saw in our engineer's plans that all of these sidewalks are going to be redone or repaired, brought up to current city standards as well. And if you could visualize street trees along the corridor, they're going to be pulled in, so we will have a landscape that helps blend the building with the surrounding area. In this particular shot, number 6, I've walked down Market Street, and you get a sense of the way the property looks from there, sort of a hodgepodge of facade. This is going to give a nice unified appearance, a nice wraparound appearance as we work our way to the side street as well. And here's what you see from 25th Street. There is this notch in the site where vehicles are presently parked, and the applicant is basically looking to convert this to a parking lot or the laundromat as well, and to serve the residential uses that would go above. Now, just to bring you back full circle, this slide shows, the first slide that I showed you, this I'll call the before shot, what the property looks like now, and then going back to the after, which you saw. So again, just snapping back and forth with some before and after shots. This is certainly going to create a nice accent on the corner, a nicely appointed building, a nice stone base along the bottom, which we don't have now. We have kind of a plain look right now with the masonry block. We're going to get a lot more glazing along the front, nice storefronts, and then of course that second level of residential, including, I'll say, the false wall as we work our way down 25th. I think the applicant made a good rationale for going a little higher with the wall at this particular location. It provides for a nice continuity and does create that nice, I'll say, wraparound effect. So with that, the relief that the applicant seeks, the primary relief, is related to a D1 use variance for the laundromat itself. Now, bear in mind, a laundromat is allowed in B3 zone district up to 2,000 square feet. The applicant is proposing a laundromat here that is about 3 times larger than that, 6,141 square feet. Part of that, I think, is related to the fact that it does provide for this nice little wraparound effect and creates sort of this triangular unit, which I think nestles well and is well situated given the constraints of the site itself being a corner location. And again, a nice to provide needing 12 and a residential needing 6. There is a justification by virtue of, as council said, sort of the shared nature of these uses. When the laundromat closes at night, the demand goes down. It is not one of those 24-hour laundromats around the clock. So those spaces will open for the residential uses as well. And I think, again, there's a nice symbiosis, if you will, between these two nice complementary land uses. There is interrelated relief for the R3 zone district. Now, I'll focus on that is mostly being related to the existing district properties and carrying that which is presently there. In terms of the D1 use relief, I believe the application satisfies the statutory test. There are 4 elements of proof that are needed under the Medici test. Number 1, site suitability. The site is particularly suitable for the use because it's really a retrofit of that which is there now, making commercial space. And I would offer that it's less intense from a demand standpoint than that which has historically been there in the form of an auto dealership. Second part of the test looks at the land use law, which is away from the land and focuses on the law itself and the purposes of zoning. I believe that the use will promote the public good with a modern laundromat in a convenient location to serve the customer base it's intended to serve. And again, falling back on those before and after shots, this is going to be a beautiful accent on the corner, giving the site a nice, fresh look. All of this goes towards the advancement of purposes of zoning, especially Purpose A, the promotion of the general welfare. Purpose G, the provision for a variety of uses in appropriate locations. Purpose I, the promotion of a desirable visual environment. And Purpose M, the efficient use of land. Third part of the test focuses on the impact on the neighborhood. And I believe, based on the testimony by the witnesses before me, the use at this location will not cause any impact of a substantially adverse nature. The residential component is going to be recessed on the side so that the laundromat will have proper ventilation and no interference with having a residence above it. The use will comply with all the performance requirements for industrial uses, and the site has adequate carrying capacity to handle the water demand that's associated with this particular use. If it doesn't, of course, the operation fails, and again, the use variance aspect will fail. So the availability of utilities is key to this application as well. Fourth part of the test focuses on the intent and purpose of the zone plan. Again, it's a use that is allowed in the zone. It's only asking for more space than would ordinarily be allowed. I think at this particular location, with this retrofit, the use and the scale of the use fits well within the fabric of the neighborhood. And in that regard, does not constitute a substantial departure from the zone plan. With respect to the relief that the applicant is seeking for the C variances that relate to the R3 zone, the minimum front setback on Market Street and on East 25th Street is 0 feet, whereas 20 feet is what would be required. Again, I think the basis here is that this is really a continuation of the wall that's already there. You have this very nice street wall effect in place now. This will continue that and complement that. Likewise, you heard about the coverage is going to be 60%, actually 58%, whereas 40% is the maximum that's allowed in the R3 zone district. That is an improvement over the existing condition, which, again, going back to the aerial photograph, is entirely paved over now. So this will be substantially more green than that which is presently there, or the applicant is pulling in some plantings that are presently not there. The parking is going to be at certain points less than 3 feet to the rear yard setback or the side yard setback. And that's a function of, again, the removal of that which is presently there in terms of the building piece. The mitigation is the fact that this parking lot is going to back up to sheds or to solid masonry structures, not the living quarters of the buildings that are behind on 24th Street. So I think the buildings themselves become somewhat of a mitigation of the impact on those homes as well. Interrelated relief for side yard setback of 0 feet proposed, whereas 4 feet is required. Again, really a function of the existing condition of the site. And then finally, with respect to the parking relief and the provision of 18 spaces, whereas 48 are what would be required under the computation by our engineer. I believe that is mitigated by 3 things. Number one, the shared nature of the use and the fact that some spaces will open up during the day, residents are gone, and will open up for the residents at night when the demand on the non-residential portion goes down. Number 2, the walkable nature of the area. It is going to have to be self-policing. On days where the weather is not nice, the demand will go down unless people have a means of getting dropped off and picked up. And then finally, the fact that we do have bus stops. I don't typically associate carrying laundry with taking the bus, but again, that, I'll say, mechanism is also there as well. There is the use of mass transit. So again, I think those 3 factors and the fact that this is relatively localized in terms of the population that it serves all helps support the parking relief that the applicant is seeking here. This is the C2 balancing test, whereby the benefits of the application as a whole substantially outweigh the detriments. Whenever we apply that balancing, we're supposed to look at the whole application. And for all of those nice things that the use is doing, I think you can consider and give some deference to the parking relief as well, as the 2 of them being interrelated and not representing, I'll say, overdevelopment or over-intensity of use at this location. I think our applicant has struck a good balance to provide for a nice solution at this corner. And again, in the end, I think that this is going to be a win-win for the whole community in the area. It certainly meets the statutory test for approval, statutory criteria. And I would offer that the board is warranted to move favorably on this application. The applicant has met its burden.
Thank you very much, Mr. McDonough. Of course, Mr. McDonough is available at this time.
Gary?
Thank you, Chairman. Well, let me say first that I agree with Mr. McDonough that the area does need a facelift. And the proposal does look nice, but there are some concerns. Now, addressing the setbacks, Mr. McDonough noted that the building is at 0 feet now. There are two things. One, the building is being altered, and two, it's being added. So it's the condition is being exacerbated to a point where that's why it is a variance. So those variances do come into play, but I'm not concerned as much with those variances as the parking. First of all, I don't think, and I don't see anybody taking laundry onto apartments. I think that Mr. McDonough alluded to that, but I don't think mass transit is going to help with a laundromat. Now, the shared services, shared parking, when at dinner time, you know, and after dinner, when residents are home, you have 12 parking spaces and you're going to need 40. So that's where, and using Mr. McDonough's analysis, even a half mile is a lot to walk with laundry. And this is one of the reasons why the city code limits the B3 zone to 2,000 square feet for the laundromat, because when it is big, you need a lot of parking. And it takes up a lot of space. And I guess they wanted to minimize that, and that was part of the equation. Now, I always defer the parking to the commissioners, but I want the commissioners to realize that the 6 spaces are going to be reserved. Now, that's from the onset. So you're only going to have 12 spaces, not only for the laundromat, but you have a business there that's going to be 2,400 square feet. It may or may not be Mr. Poe's office. If it becomes a retail business, you're going to need another 13 or 14 spaces. So that is my concern. Now, even in your rendition and in your photos, Mr. McDonough, there was very little parking on Market Street and at the site. And you have to remember, this building has been closed, and there is no business there. And the business is not active on that corner, and there's very little parking, which equates to, in my opinion, where your detriment comes in, the parking for the neighborhood. And again, I defer to the commissioners, and they know that area better than I do, and I think better than you do. So they will take that into consideration. But I want to just give them all the facts. You do have a laundromat that's open till 11 o'clock at night, and by most cases, the residential parking, which is reserved anyway, is going to be taken. And even if the residents have guests or the other business is open, that's going to impact the laundromat as well. So you have a business where it's not a walk-in and buy a product. You're walking in with laundry, with detergent and other things, and everyone knows who does laundry what do well. And I'm a little concerned with that. And I'll leave it like that, Mr. Chairman. And if any of the commissioners have any questions, I will gladly answer.
Yeah, I have a question. I doubt, with my experience, I doubt that anyone will walk a mile just to get to the laundromat, Gary. Even if it's rain, snow, whatever, I doubt very seriously that they will walk a mile just to go wash and dry their clothes. And let this laundry have something great to offer for them to walk a mile just to wash their clothes.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant would stipulate that. We understand that that's not realistic. This is geared towards the immediate neighborhood. I know that Mr. Poe, in terms of general demographics, mentioned a mile. but that would probably account for people who come with vehicles that can utilize the on-site parking or the street parking, which, in my experience, great deal of experience close by, there actually is a great deal of parking on Market Street during the day on that side, on and off periodically. But I think the commissioners know with regard to the parking issue, because many of us have had a lot of experience living and working in Paterson, know that the neighborhood laundromat really serves primarily a walk-up trade in most cases, and Mr. Poe has a proven track record of serving that type of clientele in 2 primary locations in the city, so he's very confident it will function smoothly. You know, that's our comment about parking.
Yeah, I believe his calculations when making that statement. A mile, I think that was a little far-fetched.
I agree, that wasn't realistic.
I don't see anybody in their right mind walking a mile to wash clothes.
We agree, nobody would walk. That would certainly be someone who knows Mr. Poe, who wants to take advantage of a state-of-the-art facility, and would drive to the site.
Any other commissioners have questions?
Yes, what kind of seating will there be inside the laundromat?
I guess this would be directed to Mr. Paul. Could you repeat the question, Mr. Ellis? I'm sorry.
Kind of seating.
That would be.
Because if you're gonna, it takes you about an hour or so, a little longer to wash your clothes. You got 48 machines or whatever. You have so much people to go. They can't sit inside. They're gonna be sitting outside in their cars or somewhere. Where do you go?
We can have either the architectural testimony from Mr. Martinez revisited, or Mr. Poe, whoever thinks they can best respond to how the customers will be accommodated inside.
Mr. Martinez,
you gentlemen feel free.
This is Gary Paparosi. Mr. Martinez's plan, Commissioner Hodges, only shows 6 seats inside the laundromat, but that might be generic. So there's only 6 seats on the bottom there, but that may, oh no, there's some more on the side here, I guess.
Yes.
So, yeah, so we got 12 seats, I think, but that may just be generic. You might have more. I'm not sure.
Mr. Martinez, could you shed more light on that?
Yes, we show about 12 seats. If that was bench seating, it could accommodate a little more. But as we know, the wash cycle is typically half an hour, so there's quite a turnover. Not many people just sit there and watch the machine turn. Some will, but some will go and run some errands. Some will come back, some will sit. So we find from our experience that, and again, because we have 58 machines doesn't mean that we will have 58 people. Some people come in and decide to do their laundry once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. So we find that most people come in and take up 4, 6 machines. Occasionally you will get one person that comes in and just uses one machine, but that's rare. Typically 3 to 4 or 5 machines per person.
Mr. Poe, did you have anything to add to that?
Actually, that's what Mr. Martinez is saying is absolutely correct. Am I being heard?
Yes, you are. Loud and clear now.
Yes, great. Absolutely. We also want to mention that we also provide a wash and fold service that people come up and drop their clothes off and then just come back and pick it up 24 hours later. So we also provide that service as well. And we do have tons of people that come to the laundromat in taxi.
In taxis as well?
Yes, sir.
So it's obviously not specifically public transportation by bus, but by taxi service. Okay. And that's been your experience at both of your other sites?
Yes, sir.
And the service where clothes are left and wash and fold, is that something new you're offering at this site, or is that your experience in the past?
No, that's an experience that we offer on all 3 laundromats at the present time, along with detergent, selling of detergent, things that will assist the laundromat.
Okay. One other point I'd like to make, Ed, while you're up. I know we're somewhat general in terms of the retail use, although we've excluded food and liquor. Would you be willing to limit the hours of that secondary retail use to a typical business day?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That doesn't have to remain until 11 o'clock p.m.
Right, that would be more of a typical, 8 a.m. to 5 or 6?
8 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m., yes.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Paparazzi. If I interrupted you, forgive me.
That was Mr. Hodges that was there asking the question.
Okay.
I am somewhat concerned about the parking. And 40 spots or 30 spots are that's a lot for that area to absorb. And I'm trying to figure out how many people you're going to maximally have in the laundry mat at one time, plus the 6. I don't know.
Well, as Mr. Martinez said, one person will come in here. Today's families are very large. It's very rare that you see a couple and come and use 1 or 2 machines there. You have families that have 3 and 4 kids there. They come and they use. He put it mildly, like 4 or 5 machines there. But I've seen people come in and use as much as 10 machines at one time. So there's varies depending on the size of the family. And here in this city, we have large families.
Right. And Ed, your experience with your other sites are just that, as you testified to. You feel that this square footage, this type of facility is manageable. You've got a vast amount of experience, more than any of us, obviously, in this field.
Well, actually, what we're providing for the people there is wide aisles, and we have 6,000 square feet. That doesn't mean we're using the whole 6,000 square feet. This is more a very wide and comfortable area for people to sit comfortably on the chairs, because we will have enough chairs for everybody, and for them to be comfortable in it. It's not just all machines.
Right.
So there's people are going to be walking around comfortably, and then they'll have to be fighting with each other.
And there are other businesses in the area. I know Mr. McDonough mentioned that. There's other walk-up businesses, really all the way from Madison past my office, if you will, past 27th, correct?
That's correct, yes.
That's all I have, Mr. Poe, at this time.
Am I being still heard?
Yeah, just hang in there. You're good, Ed. There may be other questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Monaro has a question. Yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. Mr. Poe, there is 10 other, Mr. McDonough said that there was 10 other laundromats in the area. I'm very familiar with that area. I just wanted to say, if that area is only partially residential, which he pointed out, right? So then, what is the need to make that the center? Because if there's 10 other laundromats in that area, then what makes that different for the using it, or make it popular to make it come to your laundromat?
Well, we have a very large population in the city of Paterson there, and we have a lot of mom and pop stores there. There's not 10 in the immediate area. If there's 10, they're within a mile radius or more. And there's small mom and pop stores that will overcrowd. It doesn't accommodate people, so people have to be driving all over the place there. We're trying to provide something nice, comfortable for someone to go and wash their clothes and have a good feeling instead of going into a very tight neighborhood area.
Right. And the closest
we have a lot of commercial properties in the area there that are not required, that doesn't have any parking space. The place is empty.
Right. And the closest mom and pop one, as you described, would be 26th Ave, right?
That is correct, and they're not right around the corner. No, they're quite a bit away.
And I guess if you would call one that's a larger, geared towards a larger customer base, you'd have to go all the way to Madison and Broadway, probably?
That is correct. Madison Avenue and Broadway by McDonald's over in that area is probably
the closest one is about a block away. It's about a block and a half away. It's on 25th and 21st Avenue, and then
that's the one, yes.
the next one would be on 27th and 21st Avenue. Those would be some of the closest, those are two laundromats right in that area. They are small, they are small, yes, but then then that brings us back to the parking, because if you're only doing 12 parking spaces at this point, because you said in the beginning that we were going to reserve those for the residential.
We're going to share the parking spaces.
So the tenants that are coming from work at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock are going to be forced to look for a parking until the laundromat closes? Is that what we're saying?
We're going to, we're designating spaces for the residents, they'll always be available, correct, Ed?
That is correct, they'll always be available. Parking lots not.
So are they going to be reserved, or are they not? So if they are going to be reserved, then that brings down your number of parking spaces available for the commercial use, correct?
We indicated that on the record, that out of the 18 spaces, we will always at all times ensure that 6 residential spaces would be available. That is correct.
I was right, because I'm a little confused, because Mr. McDonough did state that he said that once the business closes at 11 o'clock at night, then the residential parking will become available again. So I'm a little bit confused as to whether they're going to be designated specifically for the residents so that they're not looking for parking, or are they going to be forced to look for parking when next door to that is another commercial constant drive-through, because I saw that there is garages, that there's limited parking spaces on 25th Street and Market Street, that one area.
Yeah, we're definitely talking about a specific designation for the residential use. What I think the testimony you're referring to was that when the business hours are concluded and before they open, the fact that the business would be closed would create additional spaces for the residents. I think that's what Mr. McDonough said.
Well, let me also mention one thing, that even though we're closing at 11 p.m., we got to keep in mind, we have last washes at 9 p.m. At that point, we do not let anybody else in there. We just let everybody finish what they're doing there for the last 2 hours, because of cleaning crew to come in and clean up the place here. So after 9 o'clock, the place becomes a lot of parking spaces become available. All 6 parking spaces will become available. That they don't have to wait till 11 p.m. is what I'm saying. Last wash comes in at 9, and then which all laundromats have a last wash time. And then at 11 p.m. is when we actually close the business. But after 9 p.m., we don't let nobody else in there. We just let the ones that are in there finish up what they're doing in those 2 hours.
Yeah, you could have 6 people in those 6 spots from 9 to 11 while they're finishing up, correct?
Correct.
Okay. It doesn't matter.
No. What do you mean? You're gonna have 6 people in the parking space there. You have 18 parking spaces. If 6 are covered, yeah, that will be fine.
Yeah, we're not going to jeopardize the residential spaces. We're just saying that more spaces will open up after the closing time.
Understood, but I'm saying the closing time is still 11, even though you're not letting anybody in at 9. You're still gonna have people in from 9 to 11 regardless, just nobody new's coming.
Yes.
Right, like what he's saying is the crowd tends to diminish at that point, or the customer base, I should say, tends to diminish.
So, Mr. Poe, I do have another question for you. I am familiar with your laundromat that's in Clifton. There is a sign there that does say that you have to, in order to be able to use the dryers, you need to wash the clothes there, correct? So you opening up more.
No, that's not correct. Well, actually, we prefer, if drying, because we provide a lot of dryers, some people do come in and they just want to dry clothes. We allow that, but if most of the time, first of all, there is no sign up that states that, but, and any of my 2 laundromats, and, they don't. Most people that come to wash, they do, wash and dry.
Any other questions? No, I'm sorry.
I just like to rebut that, because I did see that sign there, I do apologize if there is a miscommunication, but that sign is on your Clifton, the one in Clifton. I wish I should have taken a picture the last time I was there, but nevertheless, if you, that restriction then there is something there.
I don't remember seeing that sign.
Okay. The other, the only thing that concerns me a lot is those parking spaces and what congestion is that gonna cause towards the traffic? If there is no more spaces in that parking lot, then Market Street is a very heavy street, especially during rush hour. And I just don't see that. I see that coming in onto 25th Street, and that is an active driveway. I know that there's like I believe it's Allen Linen or an extension of that's in there, that they have constant needs, and if they're blocked, that may cause some kind of conflict there between your customers and that business that's next door to yours. That would be next door to yours.
That's strictly commercial. They do not deal with the general public at all.
Right, they have trucks coming in and out.
Yeah, they go inside their driveway, inside their garage, and they fill up and do what they have to do inside the garages.
Okay, that's really not gonna be a relevant component to your testimony, but that's fine.
Mr. Chair. Chair, yeah, I'm also concerned about the parking. Will there be slots for the retail space, the other commercial space that you have there? How many spaces will they need for their business? If you have 6 for the residents, you're down to 12, and
Commissioner, this is Gary Paparosi. Based on the square footage, as long as there are no tables and chairs, they need 13 spaces just based on the square footage.
They need 13.
Sir.
So, let's take half of those are being used. You have 6 for your whole 58 washing machines. 6 spaces, that's all that's available to you. And that to me is problematic. It truly is.
Commissioner, can I interject on the parking situation? Sure. This is Martinez, the architect. We've done about 50 laundromats throughout the state of New Jersey. And when you go to a laundromat, you do sort your white and your colored clothes. And on an average, if you take 58 washers, and we said on an average people use 4 to 5, and that's putting it very low. If you divide that by 4.5, that's 12 spaces. Another fact is that laundromats really do not operate at 100%, and this is a fact that you can look up. Laundromats generally operate somewhere between 30 and 40% of capacity. There are times when they are a little fuller, but they're never operating at full 100%. I'm sure Mr. Poe would wish that they operated at 100%, but they don't. I kind of feel that even if we were to give the residential 6 parking spaces, 12 spaces would be enough. Again, remember that people separate their clothes in color.
But you don't
and just use one machine. You
don't have 12 spaces. I'm sorry, you don't have 12 spaces. You also have commit some spaces for the other commercial use, and those spaces are 12 in themselves. So you have if you take just half of those, or even if you take that's 6, you're down to 6 spaces for your entire operation.
Well, Mr. Poe, I'm sure wants to get a local business. I mean, he's like he said, he was born in Paterson. He knows the area, and I'm sure he's going to rent to someone that's going to open up a business that's going to cater to the locals that walk in that area, that are in that area, the businesses, the offices like Mr. Mariconda that can walk there and service that business. Doesn't necessarily have to be everyone's going to drive there.
Well, what businesses are you referring to? So should we set conditions as to limiting what kind of businesses should be allowed there then?
we
How do we control that?
Right, we already talked about the exclusions, and we can do even more specific, but what I'd like to do, Mr. Rocco, once we conclude with the questioning of the applicant, as well as any of our other experts, I'd like to take a short 2 or 3 minute break to discuss the contents of our meeting up to this point with the applicant off the record, if I could.
Yeah, because I frankly am,
You may have some callers too, Mr. Maricondo. This is Gary.
Yeah, before we do that, we're gonna see that for sure if that one caller is on the line, who got cut out and came back in. But in terms of the other callers, if they're gonna take a 2 minute break and they might adjust something, it may make sense to hold off.
I have his phone number. When at the end of this meeting, we will call him and ask him to get back on. And we will wait for other callers to come in, because I have to call. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
He's not on?
No, he's not on because I have to call him with IT. So that's gonna take a few minutes, and then I already had talked to our IT, our director, and stated that he should wait till the end of the meeting since he has no questions of anyone individually.
I'm just concerned because when we first asked him about questions, he said he didn't hear the testimony.
Yeah, but we lost him because his phone died. So now I have to.
We'll see what happens. Okay, we'll call
So let's give it a moment, and I'll get on with Mr. Ryan Foote, and we'll discuss it. Thank you.
Should we take our break now, Mr. LaRocca, for our discussion?
Yeah, as the chairman, I'm okay with it.
Mr. Chairman?
If there's no other questions from the commissioners, so take your 2 minutes, Mr. Maricondo.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Monaro does have another question, Chairman.
Go ahead.
Thank you. If Mr. Poe decides to move his offices, if that's one of the considerations or one of the options for that space, what parking spaces would you use, and would you have any needs for staff to use any of those parking spaces as well?
No, just one parking space, that's it.
Commissioner Watkins have a question? Mr. Ed,
And I'm not there most of the time.
Mr. Butler, you're available for a question.
Mr. Ed, have you considered using the parking lot that's actually directly across from the entrance of the laundromat that has been affiliated with that dealership as well? Because he had a parking spot as well.
Yes, well, he's currently using my parking lot there, and he will also share some of his parking as well if needed.
I'm sorry, I missed your answer. Did you say you're discussing with the neighboring auto sales about possible use of his space?
Yes.
Okay, but that's not finalized as yet?
It's not really finalized yet there, but we have a very good communication and understanding. We're working together.
That's right across the street on 25th?
Yes, sir. They're right across the street there. And with the dealership and everything there, I have first rights to purchase the place as well. For an extra amount of parking space.
The first option to purchase that building if it would become that site if it would become available. Okay.
I just got a follow-up question because I just want to make sure I was clear that I heard right. You're saying though, that I understand that you're going to try to get spaces from him, and if it becomes available, you're trying to work it out, and that's good. But did you indicate that you guys currently share? In other words, is he utilizing your parking?
He's currently using my parking space, and all of the all the cars that are out there is because of his dealership. But because of this pandemic, he actually has lost a lot of parking and a lot of cars. His business has gone down quite a bit there, and he has discussed with me that if I needed some parking space, that he's willing to sit down and negotiate with.
And I get that, but for right now,
I don't have a number.
No, I got that, but let's put that on hold for a minute. I get that. We hope that happens.
Marco, wait a minute.
Hold on. Yeah, hold on a minute. I got a bigger concern, and I want to understand better what the utilization of your parking lot is. Tell me about that.
No, he's currently using it now. He's currently using it now. I've been on this application for more than a year, working on this thing here, and he's been parking there free. So we have an understanding there, that if I needed help, that he's willing to help me. But he will not be using my site.
If you get approved, it's gonna be a condition that he will not use your site at all, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what I want to make sure. I want to make sure we're not sharing any of the space, and diluting it anymore.
No, right, but the point I wanted to make is, if he's using Mr. Post parking, that means he doesn't have parking on his lot.
Yes.
So there is no sharing possible. If he has to use your parking, that means he doesn't have it.
I got it, but he's saying that the guy's business is hurting right now, and it may become available, but
If it's good,
as long as he is, listen, so we're clear, we don't have to spend time on this. As long as it's clear, number one, that if you're approved, he cannot use your parking.
That is correct.
And as long as we're clear, right now, we're not gonna consider that possible parking as parking for his application. We don't need to discuss it any further. You're not gonna get any credit for any potential parking, and we're not gonna penalize you for letting him use your parking, because it's gonna be a condition he can't use your parking.
We don't have a formal arrangement for that additional parking across the street, unless we're not gonna tell me otherwise, I'm not aware of it.
We're not gonna consider it, and we're also not gonna consider that he's parking there now. If he gets approved, that's gonna stop.
He was doing that as a courtesy for the neighbor, but that has to stop, I agree, yep.
I got it, so we can move on, we don't need to discuss either side.
I agree.
He does have a parking elsewhere. It's
Yeah,
just.
it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Let your attorney tell you what he wants you to.
That's fine.
Go on.
All right, so unless there are any other questions, I'd like to take a short break.
Good evening, this is our Mr. Chairman, can I please ask a question?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mr. Ed, the parking space for the residents, is it gonna be reserved? So when they come back from work, they don't have to worry about driving around trying to find our parking space?
Absolutely, yes. Ed, you're confirming that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Are you with us?
I am with you, and I did not hear the last part.
The question was answered earlier, but the commissioner asked again to be sure that you will guarantee that 6 spaces would be allocated at all times for the residents.
Absolutely. Without question there. After 9 o'clock, people have, they have a time frame, and they start getting out early.
Another question. Are you gonna have somebody, monitoring, to make sure that, their path is not taken?
The residential parking spaces, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, Eddie, that has to be designated for those residents at all times. Is that your agreement?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Just explain what he, Alan, I thought he said after 9 o'clock. Those spots are reserved all the time, correct?
Yeah, I think he's meaning that more spots will open up after 9. You understand that to be the case, Ed? Is that your testimony?
That's correct.
So you'll have.
Now we want to make sure there's reserved at all times.
Yeah.
That's no problem.
We agree.
Okay, Mr. Mercado,
Yes, sir.
you can take your break now.
Appreciate it.
Not your break, but you have 2 to 3 minutes.
I got a very short break. Okay, Mr. Chairman, we're back on. I think I met my 2-minute requirement there.
Okay, you can continue.
Thank you very much. What we just discussed off the record was we acknowledge and take into consideration questioning the experts as well as the planner and your commissioner's questions. We'd like to specifically and unconditionally restrict the second space, the non-laundromat space, to Mr. Poe's administrative office, and it will be strictly limited to his usage only, and that he would be utilizing it only with one car, and he would attempt to do as much on-street parking as possible with his one car. Other than that, we think our application is complete, but that would be a specific condition. That will conclude our modification.
Gary?
Hopefully it would reduce our parking requirement.
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Mariconda, the parking requirement is based on the square footage.
Right.
In your application, it would maybe reduce your use, but if Mr. Poe was to sell next year or 10 years from now, the requirement would be 13 spaces for retail or improved retail or office space. But that being said, Mr. Chairman, I'll just do a closing statement after Mr. Mariconda does his summation, and because there's really nothing left to rehash.
Right. We agree that the square footage is a determining factor for the technical requirement for parking. We just want to know that we would accept a condition that would be limited to a one-person administrative office for the owner of the building. We understand that technically the variance still exists. Did the board want to attempt to locate the outside caller, or should I proceed at this point?
No, Maggie, can you get that person on the line, please?
I will. It will give me 1 second. Do you want any commissioners to ask any more questions before I bring this person in? So he will be testifying, and maybe 1 or 2 questions after you have.
Any commissioners have any other questions?
I do. Are there any washing machine dryer units in the apartments?
Osvaldo, that would be yours.
No, there's no ability to have a washer and dryer in the apartment.
Well, they were pretty spacious, though.
They are. I mean, they are, yes.
Mr. LaRocca, is there any one from the public?
I think we should address that one caller first before we open it up. I don't know if Maggie's got him on the phone yet.
I'm present, Mr. LaRocca. Mr. Tarek Aham, are you available?
Yes, I'm available, yes.
Mr. LaRocca, can you address the caller, please?
How are you, Mr. Tarek? Do you have questions? Good. Do you have questions of the witness that you just heard testify?
Well, my question is usually the parking that's really the issue that
Can you please state your name and spell it, please?
Sorry?
Mr. Tarek, can you place your name on the record and spell it and your address?
My name is Tariq Qasim.
Can you spell it?
Tarekqasem. And my address is 485 21st Avenue, Paterson.
Repeat that, I didn't hear the address.
485 21st.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Sir, do you have a question about the parking that you want to ask the applicant?
Actually, yes, the parking, it is one parking for a rental, for an apartment, or two parking for an apartment?
Experts testified that it's 2 space requirement per 2-bedroom unit.
He wants to know how many are being offered.
That's testimony per unit, yes. We meet the requirement, I believe Mr. Paterson would agree. If we allocate those spaces.
Correct.
So there's two parking for each unit?
Yes.
Yes. What's your next question, sir?
Now,
What's your next question, sir?
my next question, the laundromat over there.
Question?
Yes, the laundromat had a separate parking spot for it, or that's combined with the second, with the building?
We spent a great deal of time, but we could recap it again, but we did talk about that during the course of the entire hearing.
Just give it as a quick answer, just to be.
Sure. No problem. Tom, would you just cite it for me on the record if you don't mind? Yeah,
Sure. So our parking permit, we have 6 spaces allocated for the residents of the upstairs, and we have the balance, which is 12 spaces for the laundromat.
And also the possible office space.
Which we're claiming to be one space.
Correct. In terms of actual use, actually.
Do you have any other questions, sir?
My other question is, if there is 2 spots for the units, what about the visitors? Is anybody gonna come and visit?
There's no spaces allocated on site for visitors, no. This is a mixed residential commercial area.
Mm-hmm. Well, that could be a big problem with the area over there. The area is already crowded as it is.
All right, but before we get to a statement, do you have any other questions?
No, that's it.
All right.
I wanted to do a statement because it was hard to get.
I thought I was gonna.
With all my apologies, Mr. Paparazzi, I'd like to ask the caller to stay on the line. Do not hang up and do not speak until you are spoken to by Mr. Araka. Thank you.
Chairman Daxton, I think it makes the most sense to have him make a statement now, so we don't have to try to get him on again.
We agree.
Mr. Tariq?
Okay. Yes.
If you would like to give a statement and talk about the parking or whatever else you want to talk about, now is your chance.
Yeah, well, actually, like I said, I'm all the way up there, and I have a business too up there on 506, and we have 2 laundromats up there, and there's going to be a 3rd laundromat down there. We have a laundromat on East 25th, if I'm correct, and there's a laundromat on East 26 over there, and that's going to be a 3rd laundromat in that area, and that's a problem right there. And the second issue that we have is the parking. There's hardly any parking for the businesses to start with. Even the dealers on the side, they park on their sides over there. There is no parking. Allen has a big business over there, taking all the parking spots. There's 2 big buildings up there, taking all the parking spots. I mean, people park everywhere, and that's the issue we have right now.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Macron, do you want to ask any questions before I move on to the next?
The only question I'll ask is, Mr. Tariq, do you live or own a business on 21st Avenue?
I have the business on 21st Avenue.
And you received a public notice for this hearing?
Yes.
Okay, no problem.
Mr. Tariq, where do you live? They asked your address where you live.
At 485 21st Ave.
Okay.
Okay.
And your business is located at what address?
On 506 21st Ave.
So you're at least 2 blocks away from our proposal, right?
Yes, sir.
What type of business do you have?
We have the grocery store and the laundromat right there.
Okay, so you do own a laundromat in the area. Understood?
Yep.
That's everything, sir?
Sure. That's it, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in. All right, I'm gonna open it up to the public. Hold on one moment.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks. All right, members of the public, if anybody has questions of the applicant, please call 973-582-5555. 321-1579, and when prompted to enter the meeting ID number 711-680-0071. Again, the phone number is 973-321-1579, meeting number 711-680-0071. Let's give it a moment.
Are there any calls ready?
We have no calls at this time, Chairman Jackson and Commissioners.
Okay, Mr. Mercado, please.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. I, first of all, want to thank the board for your patience and clear listening and dialogue and interacting with the applicant and the experts that we testified to. We think it's been very productive. I want to really emphasize in my closing partly what I did in my opening, is that this is an opportunity, and I think Mr. McDonough and all our other witnesses very succinctly made it clear that this is an opportunity to revitalize a building that had a long-standing commercial use that is really outdated at this point. The car sales dealerships are very limited. They're lessening in locations along Market Street. We all know this was auto sales corridor at one time, all the way up from the bonfire down. Things are changing. This is an opportunity to bring a new state-of-the-art laundromat, which provides a very specific, very needed service. And as we talked about, the only other laundromat of this size in extent of units that would be along Madison and Broadway. Mr. Poe is knowledgeable, experienced, has a proven track record of coming before both boards in this city and getting approvals for laundromats that serve different neighborhoods. As we talked about before, there are only mom and pop laundromats along the area. And by the way, the objector acknowledged in his last line of questioning that he's here because he's a competitor. Let's be realistic. A couple blocks away was one of those laundromats. So at this point, we want the board to consider the positive criteria that Mr. McDonough emphasized, the lengths that the applicant went to design architecturally and by site plan a plan that is very suitable to this site. Further development along Market Street. It's going to provide that needed service that we talked about. It's going to be realistically a site that, with Mr. Poe's experience, can be managed. We're going to provide quality housing, which is needed along Market Street, and we're going to provide the services not only for the neighborhood, but we're going to be able to utilize the parking on site. And the fact that we all know in Paterson, realistically, despite the technical requirements of the parking ordinance, most neighborhood laundromats are walk-up service, almost entirely. There will be people that will drive in inclement weather, of course, if they're close enough, if they know Mr. Poe's reputation for high-quality service. So for all those reasons, And we expressly advise the board again that there will be no secondary retail or office use other than Mr. Poe's only his own administrative offices on site. So there will not be an intensity of a second substantial use on this site that might add to the density or use of the area. So for all those reasons, we ask the board to consider a motion for approval this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Gary.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. Commissioners, I do like the concept that the corner is being revitalized. I like the rendition. I think it needs the facelift very bad. My only concern, and I agree with Mr. McDonough, the variances on the setbacks, although there are new variances, it is an existing building, and those issues are not detrimental to the neighborhood. But where it becomes an issue is the parking with me. And for these reasons, you have a business that's not even operating, and you still have no parking on that corner. Mm-hmm. Now, if you were to say that only 40% of the, as testimony, only 40% of the machines are being used, well, there is a possibility that only 40% of the machines may be used, but there's also a possibility of all the machines that are going to be used. That's why Mr. Poe was putting in 58, or he would just put in 29. Additionally, I've been to the laundromat, and I used 2 machines. I haven't used 4 or 5. So while there's an opportunity where somebody will use 2 or 4 or 6, there's also a possibility somebody might use 1 or 2. So the mile thing that Mr. Poe referenced obviously is not workable, but Mr. McDonough also referenced a half-mile radius, and I think that's a long way to walk with laundry as well. A laundromat is a good walk-up business when it's small and contained. This one is big, and there is a possibility that all of them may be used. If there was no possibility, Mr. Poe would not invest 58 machines. If there was no possibility at all that all of those machines may or be in use at one time, there would be no reason for Mr. Poe to propose that. And just on the business end, the second business, that is all well and good as long as Mr. Poe keeps it forever. When Mr. Poe sells that property, you're going to have another 13 spaces that you're in deficit. So again, and I always defer to the commissioners. I'm sure you know the parking area better than I do, and you know the proposal. If that's just my concern. If you have any questions, I will certainly answer them. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
At this point, we need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, if the motion is made to approve, it would have to be with the revisions from Mr. Stearns to show the reserved parking, to show the proposed use for the second business. I think that was all. If the motion is made. Thank you.
And also, Mr. Poe's office will have to be added also.
It would be specifically designated for his office use. Mr. Stearns, is you going to add something about a condition, or?
On the plan, I guess I'm happy with that. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay. I thought Mr. Stearns.
So we would correct our plan accordingly.
Yes.
I, Commissioner Dumas, would like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I would like to make a motion to deny.
Do you? Huh?
Commissioner Dumas, first the motion to deny, Mr. Chairman Thaxton.
Yes.
Do you require a second?
Is there a second motion,
We
Chairman?
need a second to the motion.
So I second the motion.
Commissioner Hodges,
Madam
seconding the motion.
Yes, I do.
Madam Secretary, could you, read the, denial, please? If you have it with you.
Yes, I would, on behalf of Commissioner, Vice Chairman Dumas. 1 second, sir. This is a motion to deny. I am reading this on behalf of Vice Chairwoman Dumas. She makes a motion that the application of Market Street Super Suds LLC concerning the premises at 658, 664 Market Street, Lot 9006, Lot 3, to convert a commercial space into 2 separate spaces, a 6,141 square feet and 2,412 square feet, and a second level addition for 3 2-bedroom apartments. The applicant proposes to open a 6,141 square foot laundry in one of the 2 of the retail spaces. The applicant is proposing 58 washing machines and 44 dryers. The retail spaces were formerly a car dealership and has occupied as a laundry. The applicant is providing 19 parking spaces with 47 parking spaces that are required. This is for use folk site plan, the State County Planning Board review in a B3 zone. The granting of this application will affect the health, welfare, and morals of the neighborhood and values of surrounding properties. Vice Chairman Dumas requests that this application be denied. She finds that the granting of this application violates the intent and spirit of the zoning ordinance and the master plan of the city of Paterson. Further, I find that the applicant has not demonstrated the presence of special reasons or special circumstances which warrant the granting of the variance in this case. In the event of an appeal, an amplified statement of our findings of facts and determinations will be appended to this decision. Vice Chairman Dumas, if you have any specific reasons for denial, this is the time for you to place this on the record. If not, we can proceed with the vote.
The reason why I denied it is because I do myself go to the laundromat. And the first and second week of the month is when the majority of the people do go. And I know that area, and it's very hard to find a park. That being said, that's why I denied it.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Dumas. Mr. Chairman Thaxton.
Madam Secretary, please poll the board with regard to the motion to deny.
Thank you, sir. Chairman Thaxton, with your permission, commissioners, Vice Chairwoman Dumas. Yes or no on denial?
Yes, on denial.
Thank you. Commissioner Furman, yes or no on denial?
For the record, can I say something?
This is a vote now? There is no way
Yeah. Who is that? Who is asking to
Commissioner
speak?
Furman.
The commissioner who's called to vote can speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You can put your reasons on the record for your vote, whichever way it is.
On the condition of approval, my vote is yes in favor of this project. I like.
His vote is yes for approval.
I like.
Hold on a minute.
This is only denial.
Hold on a minute, please. Stop. It's a motion for denial. It's either yes on denial or no on denial. He can speak. There is no yes for approval. Now, just let him talk, and then we'll go from there. Go ahead, Commissioner. No on denial. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hodges, yes or no on denial?
My concern is that this city is getting very hard to park in, and that has to be made very clear to people who want to come in here with projects, that we cannot continue to have these kinds of short or negligence in terms of spaces, the number of spaces available. So I am going to vote no or a yes on denial.
Thank you, Commissioner Hodges. Commissioner Levine, yes or no on denial?
No on denial.
Commissioner Minauro, yes or no on denial?
Yes on denial.
Commissioner Rohim, yes or no on denial? Commissioner Watkins, yes or no on denial?
No on denial. Can I say something? Only because I am aware of that location, and I know in the evenings that the streets are really open. They really are open. I'm very familiar with that area. I work that location. I live and always in that location, and I've seen what it's like compared to some other projects. I have to go against the denial.
Thank you, Commissioner Watkins. I will return to Commissioner.
Hold on, how many votes do we have so far?
I would like to have Rohim first.
How many votes do we have?
We have 4 yes on denial, 2 no on denial.
And for who's the fourth Maggie?
I need Commissioner Rohim to answer.
Maggie?
Yes, sir.
Who was the fourth or yes on denial?
I'm still waiting for Commissioner Rohim, sir. Would you like me to continue?
Yeah, go ahead and go ahead.
Commissioner Rohim, are you listening? Will you vote yes or no on denial? Commissioner Rohim, yes or no on denial? Mr. Rocca, last call for Commissioner Rohim, yes or no on denial?
Madam Secretary, do we have another commissioner?
You do not, other than Chairman Thaxton.
Give it a minute, otherwise, I mean, look, the reality of it is, the reality is, Alan.
Yes.
I mean, we're at 4 in favor of denial regardless, right, of denial.
Right.
I think if he doesn't come on in a minute, in essence, it's akin to abstaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it would just be another vote in favor of denial.
I just wanted to comment to you, and I think you probably noticed it as well, that of course only 7 members would vote on this application, even though there may be more than 7 present.
I do have Commissioner Rohim on the line. Give me 1 second, everyone.
Hold on, mate. Yeah, no, that's why I wanted to figure out how many were called.
I can tell why you were asking that.
But it was 4 and 2. So Rohim was 7.
No, I have it tied. Marco, I have it. I'm wondering who was the fourth.
Here's what we do. So here's what we do.
They voted, who?
Just hold on, Chairman, hold on a second. We'll figure that out in a minute. We just need to confirm that only 6 have been called. If only 6 have been called, we'll have Commissioner Rohim vote, and then we'll go through each vote, and we'll figure out who voted which way.
Would Commissioner Thaxton be the 8th vote? Because we need to restore that.
Oh, hold on, Chairman Thaxton's got to vote, Maggie.
Right, so one of the alternates.
Rohim would be 8. Okay, so the full Rohim out, and Chairman Thaxton's got to vote.
He's a regular member, so one of the alternates' votes would not be taken into account.
So we gotta stop. We gotta.
See, Mr. LaRock, I do have Commissioner Rohim on the line now.
Matt, you gotta stop.
All right.
Gotta stop. Who is the alternate you called?
Okay, hold on 1 moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You are correct. We should do this vote again. Now, I have Commissioner Rohim on the line, and we can do this again and delete. And
Listen, we're not gonna do it again. Who's the alternate?
the alternate is Watkins.
Who made the motion?
Dumas and Hodges, but yes, you can. I mean,
So we're gonna strike Commissioner Watkins' vote. I don't know if she voted yes or no, but we're gonna strike her vote.
yes. I apologize, that is my fault.
We're gonna call Commissioner Roheen, and then we're gonna call Chairman Thaxton. We're not gonna do a new vote, there's no reason to do no new vote, we're just gonna take out the alternate's vote, we're gonna strike it. Unless there's an objection from the applicant, and then we'll address that if there is.
Thank you, sir.
And so just please sit tight, please just sit tight. Alan? Alan?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you agree that is the way we should proceed, or do you have an objection to proceeding in that fashion?
No, we agree that there should be 7 regular commissioners voting. The only reason an alternate would vote would be if it was one of the 7 regular commissioners did not vote for some reason or was unable to vote.
I agree with that. So what I'm saying to you is, we're just gonna strike the alternate's vote, have Commissioner Roheen, who's a regular member, vote, and then have Chairman Thaxton, obviously, who's a regular member, vote for a complement of 7. But what we're doing is, in essence, we took a vote. Again, off the top of my head, I don't know if she voted for or against. We're just gonna strike that vote and move forward. Any objection to that? You don't see any prejudice to the applicant, do you?
No, I think if the 7 regular commissioners are tallied, that's the appropriate way to go. In fact, Commissioner Watkins voted in our favor, but she would only be eligible to vote if one of the 7 regulars could not vote for some reason.
All right, so Maggie, we're gonna strike Commissioner Watkins, now call Commissioner Roheen, please.
Commissioner Roheen? Yes,
Yes,
and
my
no
vote
on
is
denial.
yes for the denial. Yes on denial.
Chairman Thaxton?
No.
You
No,
have
no,
5.
Maggie. Maggie, can you let me know who
We're gonna read them all back.
I will do so.
We're gonna read them all back to confirm their correct.
Commissioner Dumas, yes on denial. Commissioner Furman, no on denial. Commissioner Levine, yes on denial. Commissioner Minauro, yes on denial.
Levine was a no on denial.
Maggie.
Oh, sorry.
Commissioner Levine was a no on denial.
Commissioner Roheen, yes on denial. And Chairman Thaxton, so it's 4 affirmative, 3 negative.
4 in favor of denial, correct?
And 3 no, 3 negative.
And that's after correcting Commissioner Levine's vote?
Yes.
You did, it's kind of hard to tell, we messed up the vote 3 times, I just wanna make sure, let's go through it one more time. Let's do it one more time. Let's do it one more time.
Maggie, can I need to say something. Mine was no on denial. Commissioner,
I do have that. I could have, listen, I heard Levine say yes on denial. That was my mistake.
he said,
It's fine, let's just go through it again.
no.
Let's just confirm the votes. Give me the first vote.
Okay. Commissioner Dumas, yes on denial.
Commissioner Dumas, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Give me the next one.
Commissioner Furman, no on denial.
Commissioner, is that correct?
That is correct, not on denial.
Okay, thank you. Next,
Commissioner Hodges,
what is his vote?
yes on denial.
Commissioner Hodges, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Guys, so it's,
Commissioner
okay,
Levine, no on denial.
Yeah, that's right.
Commissioner Minauro, yes on denial.
That's correct.
Commissioner Roheen, yes on denial.
Commissioner Roheen,
Yes on denial, yes.
that's 4.
And Chairman Thaxton, no on denial.
Vote is 4 in favor of denial, it's a denial. Any issues with the vote? Alan, I'll allow you, if you have any issues, we went through the count 4 times to make sure it's correct, it's.
No, we understand that we needed 5 affirmative votes for approval. If there were a motion for approval, In fact, the motion was for denial, and there were 4 votes yes on denial.
Thank you.
That'll conclude the hearing, is that correct?
Yes.
I'd like to proceed with this meeting, Chairman Thaxton. We do have a set of minutes only for July 27, 2020. I'd like to have a vote for the commissioners for these minutes.
Dear minutes, could you read them? Could you read them off, please?
Absolutely. I'd like to call, this is for adoption of the minutes of July 27, 2020. Commissioner Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Furman.
Wait a minute, who motioned it?
I'm sorry, you're correct. Still on the back, hold up.
Maggie, what minutes, could you
This is
just
for
let me know?
Hinchcliffe Stadium, July 27. If for any reason a commissioner did not appoint, it was not at the meeting, please tell me, because I do not have the minutes with me. This was at the last minute, so I do not have the minutes present. That is my fault. So, let's proceed with a first motion to accept the minutes of July 27th.
Commissioner Dumas accept the minutes for July, what?
27th.
27th.
For Hinchcliffe Stadium. Is there a second?
I second it, Commissioner Monero.
Were you present at this meeting, Commissioner?
Yes, I was.
Thank you. So let's proceed with the vote. Commissioner Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Furman?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
He wasn't there. He wasn't
Okay,
present.
thank you. Commissioner Levine?
He wasn't there either.
He wasn't there
Yes,
either.
it was.
It was there. Commissioner Levine?
Lorraine and Watkins were there.
Commissioner Minaldo?
Yes.
Commissioner Roheen?
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins?
Yes, for the minutes.
Thank you, and Chairman Dex.
No.
Thank you very much. This meeting is complete. Thank you, Chairman Daxon.
Any other business in front of the board tonight?
No, sir, there are no.
Solutions this evening. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you, good evening.
Adjourn.
All right, everyone.